We have a very big show of the unofficial commentators this week, man. What a difference a day makes. So we decided to record one day late, and so many things happened, and you're going to hear all about it in this episode. But we covered the results of the Super Bowl. Yeah, we're a little bit late, but you still want to hear our views on it, don't you? And then we're also going to talk about the World Baseball Classic. We waited a day, and guess what? They announced the rosters, so now we can dissect who can be the possible contender to dethrone the Dominican Republic from trying to keep them from winning 2 in a row. Or is it our year again? Yeah, buddy. On top of that, we're going to talk about the current situation of the NBA, who are some of the teams to look out for in the future, and what teams seem like they have absolutely no idea what they're doing going forward. We had so much to talk about that we went a little bit long, and we had to record a separate episode just to cover the UFC. So enjoy the episode of the Unofficial Commentators, and the podcast begins now.
And we are back to the Unofficial Commentators. That's right, guys. So far, I think we've done a great job with the episodes. I've heard a lot of positive reviews, especially from my boy Carlos Ravello. Excellent guy. He's a straight fan listener all the time. I love his recap. I'm sorry, better said. I love his feedback. But we're back, and like I said, we're always on Podomatic. Episode of the podcast you can listen to. Favorite that channel, if anything. And, of course, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Unofficial Commentators. You can reach us through email, unofficialcommentators@gmail.com. And you can reach us through Twitter. That will be UC_podcast. Or, finally, Instagram @UnofficialCommentators. So, now that we got that out the table, let's get to it, Jay. What do we have for today?
Man, oh man, it is a show just packed full of stuff that we need to talk about. So for those of you who know the inner workings of the show, we're recording a day late, but what a difference a day makes. Like, we have so many more things to talk about than we did yesterday. And without further ado, let's just jump right into it.
All right, man. So give me the first topic right away, because let's get it going.
All right, so last Sunday was the Super Bowl. Did you hear about that little game, the Super Bowl? It was played on Sunday where the Atlanta Falcons played against the New England Patriots, and much to many of our dismay, even though you called it, the New England Patriots came out the victor, overcoming a 25-point lead led by Mr. Tom Brady in the first ever Super Bowl game that was played in overtime. What did you think about the game?
Yeah, that was impressive, man. I must say that was probably the best Super Bowl that I've ever seen my entire life, Jay. Without a doubt, probably one of the best Super Bowls in history. First to ever go to overtime. That was amazing, and not to mention the biggest comeback in Patriot franchise history. Turns out it happens in a Super Bowl. The first thing that I think we learned out of this is that, without a doubt, as much as I hate to admit it, Tom Brady is the best quarterback of all time. I dare to say the best football player of all time. Another fourth quarter comeback for him in the Super Bowl. That's his fourth in his career. Let's not forget his last Super Bowl versus Seattle. He ushered a very nice comeback. So it's worth mentioning no other quarterback in the history of this game has had more than 2. Brady has 4.
Well, the New England Patriots came back, and they brought it all back in the fourth quarter. I venture to say that was not one of the most entertaining Super Bowls that I've ever seen. For the first 3 quarters, I thought it was shit. It was one-sided. It was kind of boring. It was like one team was NFL and the other team was kind of high school, and it was just not looking like it was going to be New England's day. Then it turns around, and it's more like now New England is the NFL team, and Atlanta's running out a college or a high school defense out there, and they just got outplayed and overmatched. At what point, Paki, because this thought went through everybody's head, at what point did you feel like, okay, this is done, there's no way that it's going to go any other way other than Tom Brady wins this and another New England parade?
Well, I felt that way when he threw the pick six, man, and went up 21-zip in the second quarter. But I was like, well, you know what? Adjustments are coming. Let's stick around. It's 21-3. But when I'm like, all right, so the Patriots are going to score right away as soon as they get the ball. I know this for sure, and they don't in the third quarter. And then Atlanta comes back and scores again right off the bat. I'm like, all right, this is it, man. When Atlanta went up 28-3, the way they did it, I thought that was it for the Patriots, man. I really didn't think they were going to. I didn't think they were going to come back.
A lot of people had this game ending 31-28. It ended 34-28 on a touchdown in the extra period. And what was the critical play, the one play that defined this game for you?
The one play that defined this game, I'd have to say it'd be the 3rd and 1 from the 20 that the Falcons had after the Julio Jones catch when the game was 28-12, I believe. They had a chance to get a field goal and go up 31 points, or they could have just tried running the ball, on 3rd down. They decided to pass on 3rd and 1, and this is when on 2nd and 1. I'm sorry, and this is when Matt Ryan gets sacked. He loses 12, and then they get a holding penalty, and then they go back to 3rd and 33, and they get out of field goal range. At that moment, 2nd and 1, you're winning by 2 touchdowns. Halfway through the 3rd quarter, I do not understand why don't you feed Devontae Freeman, who has been literally dominating the game. Made no sense to me whatsoever. To me, that was the defining play. The Falcons were extremely bonehead about this. I know a lot of people are probably going to think the Julian Edelman catch, the Julio Jones catch. All that led to this moment. Atlanta could have ended it right there. 2nd and 1, you run the ball again, and just in case, you run the ball again. And if you don't score, you kick a field goal, you make it a 3-possession game. But they didn't do that. They decided to keep passing the ball. You know what they say, you live with your strengths, you die with your strengths. They clearly did that. I don't agree with it. That was a game-changing play.
Well, just to kind of add to that, I want to tell you that I know that for the most part, Atlanta's defense couldn't get off the field, right? It was one play after another play after another play, including the Edelman catch, including the 2-point conversions that they converted 2 on. That's like unprecedented in my opinion. Like to make a comeback and to complete 2 2-point conversions is unbelievable. And they did that, when the stakes most counted. The point I wanted to make is, even though the Atlanta offense didn't really make the field that often in the second half, they only ran the ball 4 times. 4 times is ridiculous. That was probably their biggest strength in the first half. It opened up the passing game for just about anything they wanted to do. Anytime they wanted, Justin Gabriel and Julio Jones were available, but it was because, you had to focus on one of the 2 weapons. This wasn't Belichick, kind of clearing it out or covering their best option. They themselves took themselves out the game by not running the ball. 4 times in the second half is unbelievable. That's not how you win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, they were playing the second half like if they were losing the game. That doesn't make any sense. After they got that 28 points, apparently, what it seems to me is they really wanted to run the score up on the Patriots. They really wanted to go from just winning. They wanted to humiliate the Patriots, and they were looking to humiliate the Patriots in a way that nobody has ever done before in the Super Bowl. I mean, they were snapping the ball with 20 seconds and 15 seconds left on the play clock. They were going up-tempo offense, up by 2 touchdowns. In the second half of the 3rd quarter. They were still doing it in the 4th quarter when they were still up. It doesn't make any sense. You're supposed to milk the clock as much as possible, secure the win. I think they got cocky. They got confident. They thought they were going to do more than what they actually could because of the way they started the first half. And came back to bite them in the butt. It's that simple, man.
It looks like they forgot what got them there. What do you think about the halftime show? So before going into the show, I was kind of hesitant. I was kind of down on Lady Gaga. I was like, I don't know, not really feeling the new stuff. But the halftime show, man, it was all about the old stuff. She brought back all the classics. I don't think I heard a single new song there. And the word on the street is everyone's kind of realizing, I didn't know I knew this many Lady Gaga songs. Like, I was at least humming to every song I heard. How do you think she did?
Well, I wasn't really a big Lady Gaga fan at first for being in the Super Bowl. I mean, normally we see some iconic characters. Nothing against Lady Gaga, but I must say her performance was on point, man. Her performance was pretty cool. Her hanging from the top, the jump at the end, the way that she went through all the songs, the dancing. I think it was a pretty fun, definitely a fun show. She lived up to the expectation. Better said, she surpassed expectations. I wasn't thinking much of it. I really don't understand why artists, though, keep going to the Super Bowl and they sing these soft songs. I really wasn't feeling the piano piece. Yeah, it was very beautiful and stuff, but it's like an energy. It's a Super Bowl. It's a football game, man. Give me energy. Give me stuff, to leave the crowd all pumped up, man. Don't give me this soft bullshit. I'm not into that right now. That's not what I'm in the mood for, but regardless of that, I think she did a great job, and it was pretty fun. I mean, it was definitely more than I expected.
Yeah, and at this point, man, we're recording, we're kind of reporting on this kind of late, but the question that I heard a lot from the crowd I was watching the Super Bowl with is, what are those things behind her? How do they get them to do that? Those turn out to be drones, man. That's pretty fucking amazing. To get that many drones synchronized and to control them to do all those moves, that is amazing. I don't know how the hell you do that. That alone is worth whatever performance you put forth. And the last thing, and kind of the most fun part of the Super Bowl for me, because like I said, the game was only good for a few brief stretches. One of the things that I most enjoy most people most enjoy from watching the Super Bowl are the commercials, man. They look forward to them. In my particular case, I know that it was driving our drinking game. We were drinking to commercials about imported cars or movie sequels or movies about superheroes, Doritos commercials, anything involving Pepsi or Bud Light. And safe to say, man, that in a game that was only good for stretches, that kept us kind of entertained. Did any of the commercials you see catch your eye?
Yeah, actually, it was pretty fun. I was in a bar. I couldn't see most of them, but there were a couple that caught my eye. The Cam Newton commercial, excuse me, with the kids. That was hilarious to me, man.
For Buick.
When the kid transforms into Cam Newton, it was like, oh my God, Cam Newton is fucking huge. That was impressive. Dude, I mean, did you see Cam Newton around those kids? I mean, did they get smaller kids for this commercial? Or is it that he's just this big? Like, wow, Jesus Christ, that's amazing. And I also like the commercial with, I don't know her name, the lady from Mike and Molly and from the new Ghostbusters movie. With
Melissa
the SUV
McCarthy.
commercial.
Right.
Melissa McCarthy. Yeah, that commercial, that she was going through a lot of stuff, man. That commercial was hilarious.
Oh, that one got me to drink, actually. So Kia is not an imported vehicle, but we were drinking to commercials with 80s songs. So when I heard I Need a Hero come on,
yeah, I really didn't hear the commercial. I didn't even understand what the commercial was about, but everything that was happening on the TV screen was funny to me, so I was like cracking up the whole time.
so
I really
basically,
didn't need to know what the commercial
she's
was about.
driving a Kia, she would get a phone call, she'd pick it up, and it's like some kind of publicist, like, oh, we got this publicity opportunity, go and, save the earth, or save the rhinos, or save the this, save the that, and she would, drive her Kia straight into whatever situation it was, and she would go save them. Honestly, though, I thought that the bulk of the commercials were kind of forgettable. Recording today on Thursday, I don't remember most of them. I still remember commercials from last year. The Puppy Monkey Baby is still something that I just say it and I still laugh. Puppy Monkey Baby. And
yeah, the Dorito commercial from the future, that commercial was hilarious too.
Was that this year? I don't remember that at all.
No, that was last year. I'm saying last year was way better.
None of these are really that memorable. T-Mobile had a bunch of stuff, and there was one where they did like the evolution of the touchdown dances. That was like kind of funny, okay. And they did, I forgot who did it. It wasn't T-Mobile though, but they did one with babies, kind of dressed up as Belichick with a hoodie and Von Miller with the cowboy hat and the glasses. That was kind of like and then kind of like, yeah, I get it. I know who that is. But other than that, man, like, I pretty much forgot all those commercials the moment I saw them. If it wasn't for the drinking, man, the commercials would have been a complete dud.
Yeah, man, I really, we talked last week's episode about where I was going to watch the Super Bowl. That's one of the main reasons why I actually wanted to see the Super Bowl at home. But, responsibilities call. I had to go in because of the league, the football league here in the Dominican Republic. So I had to show up. And although the environment was great, I had a great time. The vibe was pretty awesome.
Buddy, I'm going to tell you something. You didn't miss a single thing. Those commercials sucked. I mean, whatever.
Oh, good to know. Good to know, man. Good to know. I still like to be a judge of it on my own. You know what I mean? It's like when you really want to see a movie, everybody tells you it's a bad movie. And you're like, I don't care. I want to be the judge of it on my own. I don't want to just have to live off of somebody else's feedback.
How does that usually work out for you? When everyone tells you it's a bad movie, do you ever go like, oh, this was a bad movie?
50-50.
50-50. I think you just like bad movies, then.
No, not necessarily. I mean, it's just not everybody likes the type of movies I like. I like to say it that way. Yeah.
Okay. So many ideas ran through my mind, but we'll just leave that for.
I like. No, here's the.
We're gonna leave that to the viewer's imagination.
Wait, this is Unofficial Commentators. We talk about a lot of stuff. I like movies that that get into your fucking head. Like mind fucking movies that make you think with a plot twist. You're like, oh shit, I was not expecting that. A lot of people don't like movies like that. You know what I mean? They just like the happy movies with the happy ending, and or the movies with the Michael Bay explosions in the back. But to me that's too cliche. I like to keep it different.
Dude, I would love to sit and just record us talk about movies and probably throw a few more people in here and see where we land on that.
We will do that. We should record a separate clip about that. That should be fun.
Now, in terms of championships, the rings are going to go to New England. This is Tom Brady's fifth. This is Bill Belichick's fifth. I don't know where that stands in terms of New England as an entire team. I don't really care.
Correction. This is Bill Belichick's seventh Super Bowl ring. This is his fifth as a head coach.
Oh.
Bill Belichick won 2 Super Bowl rings with the Giants in the early 90s. He was an assistant to Bill Parcells in the Giants. He was I think he was a defensive line coach. I'm not sure. But he was in that coaching staff back when the Giants were killing it with Lawrence Taylor. So I think he was a linebackers coach. Yeah, linebackers coach. That's what he was.
Are you telling me that the hoodie's responsible for LT?
Not just that, yes. The hoodie was LT's coach. Yes, and that's why he is a defensive mastermind, in case you didn't know. And not just that, I don't know if you know, but in that Bill Parcells coaching staff, it was Bill Belichick and Tom Coughlin. Both of them worked together with the Giants defense. So look at that. I mean, you probably didn't know that storyline leading to their 2 Super Bowl showdowns, which Tom Coughlin won them both. I bet that's a good topic of conversation when they go fishing. Those old guys.
Yeah, you have more rings than me, but guess what? I own your ass.
Right?
So in terms of historically, how do you think that this New England championship just measures up to other championships that happened this year, which, in my opinion, were just so much more meaningful? And if
I'm not going to say...
Yeah, if you don't know what I'm talking about, let me just kind of prop it up. So the Cleveland Cavaliers won their first ever championship for the team in team history, and it happened to include LeBron. After about 108 years, the Chicago Cubs, they win a championship this year as well, in extra innings, by the way, which is the equivalent to the overtime Super Bowl, and in Game 7 of all things. And then Clemson this year beat Alabama, getting them back for last year's loss. Alabama was just a juggernaut and pretty much everybody's hands-down favorite. They also won. So you get the comeback, you get the story, but for the most part, New England was kind of the favorite this one. So how meaningful is it when it comes down to the history books?
Well, let me put it to you this way. I'm going to rank them, as a matter of fact. Because let's go over it again. We have the Patriots coming back from a 3-touchdown lead. Mm-hmm. You can compare that easily to the Cleveland Cavaliers coming back from a 3-1 deficit.
Wait, are you saying that
Right?
the Warriors blew a 3-1 lead?
Yeah, they did. Surprise. Then you have the Chicago Cubs coming back from a 3-1 deficit versus the Cleveland Indians. And you have Clemson, which is the only underdog in all of that. What was Cleveland an underdog versus Golden State? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they were, because Golden State had, wow, man,
They
that's
had won
impressive.
73 games.
It's hard for me. Yeah, I know. It's hard for me. Yeah, because, when they have LeBron James, everybody says, oh, they're the favorites, whatever. But in all honesty, Clemson and the Cavaliers would be the only underdogs. The most impressive comeback out of all of them, I'd say it'd have to be the Patriots, because it's football, it's one game, the pressure is bigger. Yeah. To me, that the pressure is just too much, man. Being down 28-3, 2 minutes left from the third quarter is a lot. It's not easy. Well, there were 28-12 at that moment, I think it was. But I think the most meaningful championship out of all of them, I'd say, had to be the Cubs. The Cubbies have to be number one. The Cubbies have like 150 years without winning a championship. I mean, it's tough for example, I'm a Raider fan, right?
To
It's
be
funny
honest,
that the Raiders
I think it was 108 years. Don't say 150, or people like Dagoberto are going to come for your neck. You're wrong, you idiot. It's 108.
Yeah, shout out to the purist Dagoberto, but yeah, 108 years is a lot, bro.
Yes.
Like a lot. Like I didn't really prepare a list of things that were happening when the Cubs won their last championship before this one.
That's when they
But
invented toilet paper.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a lot of crazy things, man. So I'd say the Cubs is the biggest one, and the most impressive comeback. I will give it to the Patriots. Wow, this is tough. And Clemson would get the biggest upset, clearly. I mean, they weren't supposed to win that game. Clemson wasn't even supposed to be in that game, according to a lot of people. And I mean, like, in the game, it was supposed to be a blowout. Alabama was supposed to blow them out the water. Alabama was a 7-point favorite for that game, so Clemson was definitely not supposed to be that close into it. So it's tough to rank them, man. But if I'm going to pick one, I'm going to stick with the Cubbies. I'll stick with the Cubbies. I'm sticking with the Cubbies. I'm going to stay with baseball.
I see what you're saying. I'm going to go with the Cavaliers. The first ever championship after all the struggles, not only for the Cavaliers themselves, but that entire city just seemed to be cursed. There's talk about nothing grows in Cleveland, and I think that it started with Stipe Miocic, who doesn't have a very Clevelandy name, but him winning a championship and starting kind of a winning streak for Cleveland. Then it was followed up by the Cavaliers winning and the Indians going to the World Series and just narrowly missing it. But, the Cubs were a team of destiny, and that's just kind of how it played out. So that's our recap on the Super Bowl. You were right. I was wrong. And for all of those sportscasters and sports fans that say that Atlanta, the Falcons are going to break your heart, they did. I was really, really, really upset at the end of that Super Bowl. Even understanding that Atlanta is not the team that I normally root for, I couldn't be more pissed off, man. I was like, oh,
one final question.
God, what the hell did I do?
One final question, Jay, regarding the Super Bowl before we move on. With that Atlanta debacle, because they clearly messed up, you got to blame somebody. Who do you blame? Go for that Falcons loss. Who do you blame?
Oh, who do I blame? The coaching staff for not using more of the clock. I don't know how much of that it falls directly on Matt Ryan, the quarterback, but like you said, they were snapping the ball too early. If you run the ball, even if you get stopped at the line of scrimmage, at the very least, the clock keeps running. And they were just, making plays or not making plays to end up stopping the clock and giving New England more time. I don't even blame the defense. They couldn't get off the field because it was typical, it was not typical, but vintage Tom Brady. Who do you blame?
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not even going to go to the coaching staff. I'm just going to blame Dan Quinn, the head coach. I'm going to put it to you this way. That would never happen in a Bill Belichick coach team. If it was the other way around, Imagine this scenario, Jay. The Patriots are up 28-3, 6 minutes left of the third quarter. What do you think will happen? Have it the other way around. There is no way Tom Brady's going to be making a 7-step drop. You might say, oh, but Kyle Shanahan calls the play. He's the offensive coordinator. But what's the head coach there for? It falls back on the head coach. It's the head coach's job to keep him in check and say, bro, we're not doing those 7-step drops. We're running the ball. We're wasting the clock. But, they wanted to get fancy. It's Dan Quinn's fault. He is the one and only guilty person for Atlanta losing that Super Bowl.
Well, that's your unofficial opinion, and I respect it. All right, sir. So, moving on from football, and we're going to get a little break from football, probably for the next few episodes of the Unofficial Commentators. Let's talk a little bit about baseball. So, something that broke today was that an unofficial handshake deal is happening to potentially sell the Miami Marlins. How do you feel about that?
It's very simple, bro. This is how I feel about it. If you are a millionaire or a billionaire and are able to afford a baseball team, baseball team, because that's where we're at right now, go ahead and buy it. Jeffrey Loria bought the Marlins for $158 million in 2002, and he's selling it for 1.6. That is a handshake agreement. That's not a settled number. It could vary, but we're going in around that neighborhood. It's around that neighborhood. So he's selling it for 900% of the value of what he bought it. That is an awesome investment if you're a businessman or whatever you are. But it really doesn't.
Or whatever you are.
Yeah, you don't have to be a business mogul to understand that this was an awesome investment. You're buying something and you're selling it for 900% of the price. And the best thing is he doesn't have to deal with this Giancarlo Stanton deal, which is a massive deal. I don't see the Marlins going anytime soon to the World Series. I don't see them going anywhere soon, anywhere. So they are in Miami. It's a big city. If this is what Miami is worth, I can only imagine what the other big city teams are worth right now. That is a very, very hefty price to pay for a bottom feeder team. Well, they're not bottom feeders. They were like right in the middle of the pack in the division. They were racing there with the Mets, so they're not a bad team. But it's just a franchise that doesn't catch my attention that much. Florida is more of a football town right now. Well, football state, I'm sorry. And Dade County, well, that's more about Miami Heat. So I don't know. If it's that's the worth, it's fine, but it's not something that really, caught my attention like something so changing. Oh, whatever, man. The most shocking thing was the price that they bought it to the price that they sold it.
$1.6 billion for a team that doesn't sell out its games, doesn't really have a whole bunch of talent. Like you said, is not a team or rather a fan base that's heavily invested in the team. And it seems like Loria goes in, he spends his money on the team, whatever amount of money that was. Then he gets a stadium that was funded by the people and the taxes, and he doesn't really spend or lose any money on that. Doesn't matter that they're not selling out games. Anything he's making after that is profit because he didn't put his own money to make in the stadium. And then after that, he just cashes out. This almost feels like the UFC deal, all the profit and then none of the risk. Now, a funny thing that's come up is that Charles Kushner, the father-in-law to the daughter of the current president of the United States, may be involved in this purchase. How do you consider, or I don't even know what's the correct wording here. How do we feel about this? About possible presidential involvement in buying a sports franchise?
Oh, Florida's a Republican state, so I'm sure they won't have a problem with that. They have a lot of supporters for the Republican Party, especially for the Trump administration. So if it comes to that, I'm sure they're supportive of that decision. But it's not a secret to anybody, man, that the presidency is going to be mixing business with personal stuff, or better said, business with government stuff. But again, I don't see this as a big deal to me. It's just purchasing a team. It's not gonna make anything different. Hopefully it'll be, well, not hopefully, I'm a Mets fan, so, but if as a regular fan, hopefully it'll be an owner that dedicates to winning, as the Marlins have not been doing much of that lately. So, you know, all sports in general need more managers that are hands-on, and I mean hands-on in a positive way, not hands-on like in a James Dolan way. So, yeah, man, hopefully that's what's going to happen.
Oh, man, we're going to talk about Dolan in a minute. But before we get to that, just staying in Miami, Miami's going to be the host of the C Pool, or Pool C of the World Baseball Classic. World Baseball Classic announces rosters this week. What do you think? Who has the greater chance of challenging the Dominican Republic, the beautiful República Dominicana that we both represent, to try to stop them from getting a second crown in a row?
Yeah, man, Pool C, it's going to be fun. You have the United States, you have Canada, Colombia, and Dominican Republic. Now, I know Canada and Colombia don't catch much of attention. Colombia is the first time they're in this classic. Let's not forget Dominican Republic, beautiful Dominican Republic, won 8-0 in last classic, winning an undefeated championship that had not been done before. And yeah, now they have a really stacked team, dude. Like, I swear to God, this has to be the most stacked team that the Dominican Republic has ever taken to this tournament. They have like third and fourth batters up and down the entire roster except for the catcher. The catcher's not even a major leaguer, so there is some deficiencies there, and that's clearly going to be the ninth batter. But the pitching staff is amazing. The power is amazing. The speed is amazing, up and down. After this, you have the United States. The United States roster is full of major leaguers. They're very deep. They're a good team. I want to say they're bad, but once again, United States left a lot to be desired with this roster based on the talent that they actually have. I would love to see a World Baseball Classic, which, by the way, America hosts this tournament. MLB is pretty much the ones that organize it, all American stuff. Yet USA has never even gotten to a finals of a baseball classic. And with this team, I don't think they will get to a finals either, because although it looks like a decent team on paper, it could have been so much better. It could have been so much better. I would have loved to see Mike Trout, see a little bit of Chris Bryant, Bryce Harper, all together, you know, all these young studs, and not to mention their pitching staff. The five top Cy Young voters this year in both the American League and the National League were all American-born players. None of them are in the USA squad. So it makes no sense to me. They're not getting support from their players. I wish they did. It would make the tournament a lot more fun.
I don't even know if it's the players necessarily. Like, it may look that way to us, but I think a lot of these teams are overprotective. And at the end of the day, you're kind of doing this for pride, if nothing else. Like, would you really consider jeopardizing your career and your money, and even with baseball's guaranteed contracts, like your entire career, to go down in flames because you were throwing a few extra pitches in March when you're still technically cold? Like, you're not hitting your prime moment of every season. Like, this is even before preseason, to go out there and like get an ACL injury and basically be a liability to your team for the whole year. I think the teams themselves are being overprotective, and I also think that even the players that do actually get to play, speaking of the USA team, they'll play, they'll represent, they'll do what they have to do to represent the country. But bottom line, some of these rules are made to try to protect them, and it may come down to the fact that you can't use this player too much in order to save him, keep him fresh, and that's what's going to end up costing you the World Baseball Classic. Now, how much does playing in this tournament, the travel to then go into like a spring training, to then play 162 baseball games, affect the players that participate? Like, I remember for the Dominican Republic, who was the closer? Was it Rodney? Rodney was the standout. He was like the thing that everybody wanted to emulate. He looked there better than he's ever looked, I think, in Major League Baseball. And after that, he's pretty much been kind of burnt out. Like, that was the best he's looked in years, and that's probably the best he's ever going to look.
Well, Robinson Cano was the MVP of that tournament in 2013 when the Dominican Republic won the World Baseball Classic. And I must say, that was his last year with the Yankees. And whatsoever, I mean, he was on par with his career numbers, especially that really hot stretch that he had in his last 4 years with the Yankees, which was amazing. It was just on par with that. So it really didn't affect him. Injuries are not such a major concern in baseball. The only big-time injury that you see a player can actually have is the Tommy John surgery for elbows and pitchers. That's a tough injury to come from. Everything else it's not that big a deal. You might pull a hamstring or whatnot, and I know that's uncomfortable if you're a speedster, but this isn't like football, man, or basketball. Injuries are not as common, and it's only 8 games, the most you would play. We're not even talking about, like, 8 baseball games. Are you serious? This is not that much. You can get away with this tournament without getting hurt.
Didn't
Aaron, well. I mean,
what was his name? Didn't Aaron Boone, like, rip an ACL playing basketball pickup in his backyard or some stupid shit like that? Like, injuries can happen anywhere, man. And if Clayton Kershaw decides to play in the baseball classic and he gets the Tommy John injury, like, how does that look for the outlook of the Los Angeles Dodgers?
Yeah, but I doubt that would happen, because you see the classic has a pitches limit. So if you throw more than 85 pitches, I mean, you cannot throw more than 85 pitches unless it's to finish the batter that you're facing. If you go over 85, you could just finish off that batter, then you got to go. And if you go over 50 pitches, you need to have at least 4 days rest before you pitch again. So there are rules in place to maintain the pitchers healthy, to not overwork the pitchers. I just don't see why the concern is. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just baseball.
So when you say it's just baseball, man, like, people are going to come for your head. Like, these baseball fans are going to be like, what do you mean it's just baseball? Baseball is a legitimate sport. It's just the national pastime. So
it's just baseball.
We're going to discuss the rules. We're going to talk about how the pools are selected, what the innings limit or pitches limit is, how all of these things work. We're going to focus on that leading up to the tournament. But I don't think you ever addressed my question. I asked you, after seeing the rosters, what's the team that you think has the biggest chance to take away the throne, dethrone the Dominican Republic this year?
Okay, first of all, it's just baseball, and I mean that because it's not a physical sport. It's just baseball.
What the hell do you mean it's not a physical sport?
It's not a physical sport, man. Most of the time people go to party to these tournaments. Ask Venezuela. That's why they keep losing in the first round. They got all this talent, and they keep getting left out because they just go to party.
Because they're not putting their physical talent into it, man. But it is a physical sport.
Yeah, people slam into each other all the time while they're trotting to first base on a walk. Oh, so physical. Anyway,
tell me the last time you went up to a batting cage and you hit a ball that looks like it could have been a home run.
I'm not a professional baseball player, so I don't need to go to a batting cage and not hit a home run.
I'm not a professional baseball player either. I go for fun, but
I can tell you this much. Nobody's gonna hit you for taking a swing. It's not a physical game. Taking swings is not physical. People aren't gonna slam into you while you're swinging.
I played softball this weekend, and I hit a ball that was worthy of a double, maybe even a triple. Do you know how hard both physically and mentally it is to round first? Like, if you're not used to doing that shit, that's tough.
Well, they are used to doing that. They're professional baseball players, not your fat ass, man. You're not in shape for that.
But they're physically gifted in doing things like that, and they practice to do it. People like me would be able to play a non-physical game. Like, it doesn't matter how physically fit I am. I can fucking play chess with you all day. But I can't run from, home to second without touching the base, thinking in my head, where's this fucking base? I have to look down at the base and then turn and run, and by that time I'm out. There's a lot of physical limitations that go into baseball.
The base? Do I turn left? Do I turn right? Where do I go?
Dude, did you never saw that movie? It's an old movie, A Problem Child, where he hit, I guess he got a hit and he runs to like third base or some stupid shit like that. Like, you can know the rules, you can know everything, but there's still like some demanding physical challenges that go into baseball. Don't tell me that. Getting hit is not the definition of a physical sport. That being said,
fine.
Who is going to dethrone the Dominican Republic, if anyone can?
Well, the Dominican Republic has the best team on paper, but if I'm going to give you a team based on my knowledge, I'm probably going to say USA because we only know major leaguers. But there's no way I'm leaving Japan out of this conversation, man. Japan has the best professional baseball league after Major League Baseball. It's a real thing. That's why they're such awesome contenders. All of their baseball players come from that league. They have the weirdest motions and pitches and batting stances. It's completely unorthodox to all these baseball players from this side of the world. So I would say Japan, man. Japan is always a threat. Japan has to be a real threat every year, and they can definitely win it again, as they have been close to winning it every year.
All right.
I mean, they won it twice, but, I mean, the year that they didn't win it, they were close to winning it.
Yep. So it looks like Japan is coming back, and they're looking for vengeance. Okay. A lot of things happened in the NBA this week. It all kind of started spiraling straight to hell after Charles Barkley called out LeBron James for not wanting to compete, saying that he was weak-minded, he didn't want to compete, he didn't want to do this. LeBron, who was in the middle of a losing streak, came back with some not-so-LeBron-like behavior, calling out Charles Barkley, bringing out all his faults, finally getting a little bit of backbone, if you ask me, and that kind of leads to a whole lot of different things that we ended up talking about this week. So I don't want to focus too much on LeBron. That kind of is what it is, but from that conversation, Illich, shout out to Illich, by the way, he mentioned that, LeBron's legacy is pretty much what it is. We're done talking about LeBron. He's actually considering finding a new favorite player. And I want to talk about, maybe not today, but I want to talk about what goes into selecting your new favorite player. Like, when your player is moving on up there in age and they're ready to move on, and you have to look to the new source of entertainment in the NBA, what are the things you look for? But at least today I want to focus on some teams that look like they have a really bright future. We've talked about the Philadelphia 76ers here kind of inadvertently very often to talk about Joel Embiid and kind of how they've been winning in January. And it looks like their top pick Ben Simmons is going to come back after the All-Star break. So the future for this team is starting to fall into place. Like, all that talk about the trust in the process is kind of following a certain level, certain stages, and they're falling into place. And it's looking like going forward the next few years, the Sixers are going to be a tough out for any team. Aside from that, I'm thinking that the T-Wolves have a really good structure. They can be pretty good. The Bucks, even the Utah Jazz, young teams that all kind of have a structure going forward. Of these teams that I've mentioned, or maybe teams that I haven't mentioned, which of these teams do you think have the most positive outlook?
I got it. Okay, boy.
Did you catch a mosquito and snort it?
I normally say the seven. No, you're crazy. I just scratched my mustache, dude. I have a bit of a runny nose. Anyways, I normally say the 76ers. I mean, talent-wise or young talent-wise, they are by far my favorites. But I don't see them as being a franchise that's going to bring in a good free agent to help them get to the next level. So a team that I really am intrigued about for the future, because I like their coach, I like their blocks, I like their building blocks, I like their core, and I think they can bring in some free agents, is the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks, I think with Giannis, Jabari Parker, now he's out to a knee injury, but if he comes back healthy, which we hope he does, that's a solid core. You have Greg Monroe, and you have Jason Kidd leading that team. Jason Kidd could be a guy that can bring in some real powerful free agents in the future to help these guys. So I like the Milwaukee Bucks' future, man. They're a really good team. They're a team not so far away from being a very, very competitive team, man.
I understand what you're saying. Now, with the Philadelphia 76ers, I'm not so much concerned about the free agency. It's more with them that they stockpiled a whole bunch of talent, so they're pretty much the destination where you want to go if you want to trade for a big man right now. And all of these teams, all of these young teams on the rise, they seem to have one thing in common, and it's a solid big man. So they're obviously not going to let go of Embiid, but they have Nerlens Noel, they have Jahlil Okafor. Either one of these pieces are considered trade pieces that you trade them for a good point guard to kind of lead that show, and look out, man. Before you know it, the 76ers are on the rise. They have a really strong, young core of a starting five, and the sky's the limit for the Philadelphia 76ers. If I have to pick a team, though, I'm going to say that it's going to be the T-Wolves. Traditionally, the knock on them is that people don't really like their coach. Tom Thibodeau has a reputation of kind of running players into the ground, but I cannot get enough of Cat, man. Karl Anthony Towns, to me, is moving up the ranks very, very quickly to be the best center in the NBA. Every time I see this guy play, I'm amazed by his skills and how quickly he's progressing. For as good as we're talking about Joel Embiid, man, Karl Anthony Towns is the complete package. He can shoot threes. He has the rebounds. He's ferocious. He finishes around the basket. There's nothing that I haven't been able to see him do. He is the evolution of Boogie Cousins, and I can't get enough. If he is put in a situation where they manage his minutes wisely, I like the pieces around him, whether it be Andrew Wiggins, Zach LaVine, who's another player who's out with an ACL injury and done for the year. I like Ricky Rubio, even though some people think that they should move on from the whole Ricky Rubio experiment. But I like the team that they have now. I like their upside. The biggest knock for them, outside of Tom Thibodeau, is the fact that they play in the West, where competition is traditionally stronger.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with everything you said about Karl Towns. And for that same reason is why I think he will be an NBA champion someday, but not with the Timberwolves. I can see Karl Towns literally reliving the same Kevin Garnett career right now. Literally in Minnesota, having a great start to his career. He's only going to get better, and he's going to get so good that Minnesota probably won't be able to afford him on a second contract, and he'll go to another team that will actually lead him to the championship. Hey, who knows? Maybe the Milwaukee Bucks.
Well, there's some teams, though, that are young. They're young at their core. They're young kind of at the starting lineups, and they look like they have no rhyme or reason, just no reason for being in the NBA. And some of the teams that come to my mind are the Orlando Magic. When talking about the NBA teams, I know there's 30 of them. I often forget that Orlando even has a franchise. If not for that kid that's in the slam dunk competition, I would have no idea who the hell plays for the Orlando Magic. The New Orleans Pelicans, I don't know what the hell happened there. They look like they completely dropped the ball. They are wasting the best years of Anthony Davis, and they're not getting anything around them that's any good. The New York Knicks, for the most part, I think that they're a young team. What's Melo, like 33? He may be the oldest player on that team. They're just wasting away whatever talent they had with Porzingis, and if you ask me, man, I see less and less Porzingis highlights every day, every week. I think he actually took a step back from last year. They're letting whatever talent he had go to waste. what needs to happen with these teams? What's the direction they need to go to get this young talent on the right track to become competitive?
If you're talking about the Knicks, I'd say the Knicks have to be, even though they have some talent, they'd have to be probably the worst franchise right now in the NBA. You know, the way that they're being led is just shameful. Phil Jackson is horrible. James Dolan is worse. They have Porzingis, but apparently nobody has. They don't know that. It seems like everybody in the world knows that the Knicks have Porzingis, except Phil Jackson and James Dolan. It's confusing to me, but the direction they'd have to go. This is first. They got to go get rid of Phil Jackson. After that, they're on from Carmelo. I think they need to get. Everybody was arguing who's going to leave, either Carmelo or Phil Jackson. I think both of them have to leave, and they have to start from scratch. He has to leave. Joakim Noah, that contract. Oh my God, he has to leave. You know, to pretty much scratch everything, start from the bottom, and see if they get some. They're going to struggle a couple of years, maybe some lottery picks. See if they get something nice to match up with Porzingis. And maybe about 7 to 10 years down the road from today, maybe they might be able to compete. But not for now.
I'm having a tough time remembering if I've said this on the show, but they do need to bring in someone who has a plan, has an idea, someone who can convince the fans and the media that we need to hit the reset button and this is the direction we're going in. They need to stop bringing in these microwave promises, these people that come in and say, you know, we're going to go and offer this free agent all this money and we're going to win next year. I'm guaranteeing a championship. We're going to the playoffs. They have to hit the reset button. The Garden fills up no matter who the hell you trot out there wearing New York on their chest. So you just give it up. I mean, you're investing all this money on players and you're losing anyway. So what the hell is it going to matter if you decide to ship all those players out and start rebuilding with young pieces through the lottery, through free agents? Well, not free agents, that hasn't worked, but maybe through positive trade packages. Get the right team in there. I just want to go ahead and ask, who's the best player in the Orlando Magic?
Wow. You know what? They have a couple of players that I like, but it's just they're just really good players, nothing to stand out. I like Elfrid Payton. I think Elfrid Payton brings something nice to the table. They do have Serge Ibaka, who had some good years in OKC. I like Nikola Vucevic, which is a pretty underrated center in my opinion. To me, he's probably the best player on that team. Aaron Gordon has a bright future. If he continues to build on every season, kind of like Giannis did with the Bucks, we can see something nice coming out of Aaron Gordon in a couple of years. But right now, Nikola Vucevic, if he can stay healthy, which is injuries are his main problems, I think he's a double-double machine. He is a very interesting center and extremely underrated.
Why the hell wasn't he starting at the beginning of the year? All right, well,
probably an injury. You know, he's very injury prone, unfortunately.
Yeah, I picked him up in our second fantasy, man, and from what I remember, he was an absolute beast, especially in the double doubles. I'm regretting it though. He's not really delivering this year. Most of it is lack of minutes. I just want to throw out the Phoenix Suns. I don't know what the hell to think about that team. When I kind of made my clear separation of teams with a really bright future, Sixers, T-Wolves, Bucks, and then the teams that have no clue what the hell they're doing, even though they have young players, the Knicks, the Magic, and the Pelicans, I didn't know which side to put the Suns in. I mean, they could win some games. It looks like they're struggling right now to kind of figure it out in the West, but Devin Booker is a legitimate star. Alex Len, when he plays, he's kind of hampered by the fact that he's having to play second fiddle to Tyson Chandler. They should really move on from Tyson Chandler, but Alex Len is a really good center. I'm having trouble remembering the name of their point guard, but I know that when he plays, he's really good also.
Eric Bledsoe?
Eric Bledsoe. Yeah, Eric Bledsoe is really good. He had, what was it, like a foot injury last year that kept him out of most of the year. But when he's on, when his game is on, man, he's great. That's an excellent backcourt, him and Booker. What side do you think the Phoenix Suns fall on?
They'd fall in the young, talented side, up and coming. I mean, they're really good at guard. Devin Booker, you already mentioned him. He is amazing. I mean, I love watching this kid play. As a matter of fact, obviously I can't see every NBA game as most people can't. So I just go through the highlights of some games, and I see myself a couple of times going back to Phoenix Sun games just so I can see Devin Booker, so I can see his highlights. Eric Bledsoe, you already mentioned him, and Brandon Knight, who's also pretty good. So they have some really nice guards. Tyson Chandler is not a bad building block to you have at center, but they need something
no,
more.
No, he's not. That's the wrong word for Tyson. He's not a building block. They need to move on from him.
That's a bad word. Yeah, I didn't mean that. I think he's a compliment. He's a good compliment. That was a bad word. I apologize. He's a good compliment for those guards, but they need some help in the middle. They need some good small forwards. They need some good forwards. P.J. Tucker is just, it's just like he's supposed to be so much better than what he actually is. Ty Warren. So if they get some good forwards, I think they can be a pretty decent team. So I put them in the young up-and-coming team.
They're currently last in the West. They got leapfrogged by teams like the Lakers, who seem like they're getting a clear idea of what they want. They got leapfrogged by Dallas, who had a terrible start. And Dallas may be contending for the last playoff spot. And the Denver Nuggets. I know that we're talking about a lot of teams. Sorry to kind of keep, not wasting your time, but kind of keep redunding on the same thing. But what do you think about the Denver Nuggets? What's kind of their outlook going forward?
Well, the Denver Nuggets, they sound like a team from Europe, man. They have some pretty good bigs. They're like the complete opposite of the
Suns.
Of the Phoenix Suns. Yeah, they're the complete opposite. They have some pretty talented bigs. And Jokic, I like Jokic. He's pretty good. And
is it Jokic or Jokic? Because I never know which one is which.
Well, Jokic is pretty good. I like Gallinari as well. I'm telling you, man, these guys sound like they're taken out of a freaking European team. But they're a fast-paced offensive team that have absolutely no defense. They need to get some defensive players sometime in the future. Yeah, they got Kenneth Faried, but Kenneth Faried is a shadow of what he was before. So again,
what the hell happened to the Manimal?
Team, I don't know, man.
This guy seemed to break down so fast.
They have such a great offense. They're able to score sometimes, but they score when they go over 100. And they win, when they score over 110, 115 points. They need something defensive to hold them down. Right now, I would put them like right in the middle of the pack, man. Somewhere where you would put, I don't know. Wow, that's tough. It's tough to rank them, but they're in the middle of the pack. They need some real pieces there to move them, though. But I don't know. They need another superstar. They need a real player so they can be good.
We talked about the New York Knicks and the shit show that they are, and adding to that shit show, they had an incident yesterday where Charles Oakley had to be forcibly removed from the Madison Square Garden. This led to a lot of jokes. This led to a lot of conversation about how tough Charles Oakley is. I've seen memes. I've seen videos. I guess it's just worth mentioning. I mean, in the long run, I don't think this kind of does anything to further, push down the legacy of the Knicks, of the 2017 Knicks, who just seem to have tanked for the rest of the year. They're pretty much done. But what do you have to say, if anything, about this Charles Oakley incident as a Knicks fan?
Well, I can't support that violent behavior. I got to be honest. It's not because this is we know this type of show that we have here. We can be pretty much ourselves. We can keep it real. I'm not much into that violent behavior thing, but there's a but here. The fact that Charles Oakley was literally sticking it to James Dolan, I'm supporting Charles Oakley, man. Screw that. If it's Oakley versus Dolan, I'm going with Oakley all day. Dolan and Phil Jackson, they can just ride into the sunset and disappear from the Big Apple forever. I am tired of those guys. Good for Oakley, man. We've talked about well, not us, but I've talked about how Oakley pretty much represented what New York was. You know, what the Knicks were in the 90s, man. This hard-nosed, hard-working team. We didn't have no Jordan. We didn't have no Shaq. We didn't have Hakeem. But we out-hustled everybody thanks to people like Oakley, man. So people like him that did the dirty work kept us in the race in the 90s and for most of the time, which was the last time that the Knicks were actually worth something. So, man, kudos to Oakley. I support him. Screw James Dolan, man. I hope he does it again.
Is Charles Oakley gonna have to slap a bitch? I fucking love it.
I can't condone the violent behavior, but if he slaps James Dolan, I'm fine with it.
I love that it's not a punch, it's not a gunshot. Charles Oakley fixes everything the old-fashioned way. Just slap him across the face. Come here, you bitch. Slap. Get this damn team right. Man. Slap.
Yes,
you're messing up my legacy. Slap, slap, slap.
James Dolan is messing up New York. New York doesn't deserve an owner like James Dolan, man. Come on, man. Jesus Christ.
What do you think about Daryl's comment that people should just stop going to Madison Square Garden?
That's not going to happen because, you know, New Yorkers are faithful. So no matter how bad the Knicks are, they're going to keep going. New Yorkers are probably one of the most faithful fan bases. They will hate you if you're not good, but they will love you if you are. And they're gonna keep going to Madison Square Garden either to hate you or to love you. There's no in between in New York, man. They're not gonna stop going.
Great point. Yes, I'm living in New York, man, and I can attest to that. That New York fans will go to watch you lose. They do not care. They'll watch you lose, and then they'll hate you for losing. I saw it in the Giants game. You know, all the criticism. I remember when I saw the Giants Ravens live. People behind me were just criticizing over and over. What is this bullshit? Dumping off at 2-3 yards. You know, you have Odell Beckham. Give me a pass. You know, show me something, Eli. They ended up winning that game, and their entire, you know, attitude and mood changed after that. And even though they threw in they went on a 5-game winning streak, and what I kind of got from them was like, yeah, do it again. But New Yorkers love to hate, so they will continue to go to the Garden because they love to hate their team. And when they're good, you know, they want to be there to say, I stuck with them through thick and thin. So,
and that's why I say that New Yorkers don't deserve James Dolan, because people like James Dolan, they know this, and that's why they don't care, and they take advantage of the poor New Yorkers.
Sorry, Daryl. God, it's not gonna happen.
You have the Yankees. You can compare the Yankees to the Knicks, right? I mean, you know, the Madison Square Garden, the Yankee Stadium, and the Yankees had the George Steinbrenner. The Knicks have James Dolan. God damn it. So sad.
Tell us how you really feel, Paki. All right, there was
I vented too much. I vented too much with the Knicks already.
There was a little bit of controversy in the Under Armour camp. Apparently, their CEO called our President of the United States an asset to the United States, even though he's currently battling a lot of controversial issues. Stephen Curry, who is notoriously quiet, he also tried to make the headlines by saying, yeah, he's an asset if you drop the ET. Joel Brito, one of our friends and contributors to the show, even indirectly, he said, oh man, this can bring him problems with Under Armour. I say to that, who gives a shit? I hope Under Armour does drop him and they start making those ugly-ass nurse shoes. Watch how quickly Nike picks him up and he gets a new shoe deal for the rest of his life worth $1 billion.
Yes.
with shoes that are actually worth buying.
First of all, I gotta give props to Steph Curry for stepping up. I mean, finally we see a little bit more of the Steph Curry, you know, the human more than just Steph Curry, the figure, because that's kind of like how I feel sometimes with these athletes. It's like that's the image, and they conserve the image, but I want to see the player, and him being honest like this kind of gets you a little bit of an insight of what Steph Curry's actually going through. I completely agree with him saying this. I'm not going to get into political aspect here, but I really agree with him going out and saying it. Now, regarding Under Armour, man, you nailed it. Under Armour's not happy with him. Apparently sales have dropped, and I'm sure Curry's probably like, damn, everybody that's on Nike is getting so much money and getting such awesome shoes, and I'm forced to wear this crap to play. God damn it. I wish I could wear better shoes. What can I do?
These damn shoes are fucking up my bunions.
Yeah, like he knows these shoes are. I'm pretty sure that everybody in the Golden State locker room probably makes fun of his shoes.
You can't even give them things away.
Yeah. I mean, he's playing with Kevin Durant now, you know, and KD got these awesome shoes and the Nike deal. He's like, man, I want to be like KD, you know? So he noticed, like, what the hell am I doing with Under Armour? Might as well just vent out. Hopefully I'm done with those.
And they sign in for life, man, so they're pretty much, they can let him go whenever they feel like letting him go. Otherwise, Steph Curry's not getting out of that deal anytime soon, man.
He's probably trying to get out. Under Armour is only good for football. If Steph Curry played football, Under Armour would be an awesome endorsement.
Who gives a shit about football cleats, man? They're good for like all their Under Armour, like the stuff you wear under your jersey and stuff. All right, Paki, give a shout out to all of our plugs again, all of our sponsors. We have people. We're gonna preview the UFC 208, but this episode is kind of run long. So we're going to run that one separately for those people that are interested in 208. We'll talk about that in the following podcast. But before we do, Paki?
Well, a shout out to Cousin Juan. He's pretty much part of the Unofficial Commentators team. Shout out to Carlos Ravello, Sahur, all these people that are actually listening all the time. These are the ones that actually get to me all the time regarding. Oh, shout out to my boy Rodney Palucci. I know he listens. He listens first thing in the morning. And, of course, a shout-out to Scotch Porter. Guys, I don't know if you noticed on Instagram, go to Scotch Porter, show your support to the podcast.
Scotch Porter.
See what they got there.
ScotchPorter.com.
Buy something.
For a long, lavish, luxurious beard, such as these two bearded gentlemen right here.
Product code SP10.
That ladies can't keep their hands off. Use
discount code is SP10.
That's right. Use code SP10 for a discount on your product, and they'll also kick back a little bit of cash-ola to the Unofficial Commentator, so we can throw in some special effects in his biatch.
Every time I'm watching videos, listen. Every time I'm watching videos on YouTube, I see people do this. For the people in the podcast, it won't do much, but I'll do this for the YouTube. And just in case you're interested, the links will be down below. I see that all the time on YouTube. So, below we'll leave the links to Scotch Porter, man, but that's pretty much it for me.
It is a very big week for the Unofficial Commentators, and 1 week we got two sponsors. Not only did we get Scotch Porter, but we also got So Loyal. And
that's what's up. So Loyal.
We're working on the international shipping for all our fans in the Dominican Republic, but that is coming very, very soon. And for every t-shirt you buy of the So Loyal brand, they kick up a little bit of cash-ola to the Unofficial Commentators. And again, that'll go to special effects for us to do shit like this. Point that way. Point this way. So have a really cool beard and really cool shit to wear by going to ScotchPorter.com using code SP10 and visiting So Loyal Clothing Inc. on Instagram and making your personalized order to get fly shit like this. So,
that's
guys,
a nice shirt, man.
Oh, thank you very much. Guys, follow the Unofficial Commentators on YouTube, Unofficial Commentators on Podomatic.com, at UC_podcast on Twitter, Unofficial Commentators page on Facebook. Give us a like. Join it so we don't have to constantly barrage you with links that you need to follow. At Unofficial Commentators on the Instagram. And if you want us to give our unofficial commentary on any particular topic, please send it to the Unofficial Commentators. I'm sorry, let me correct that. Send it to unofficialcommentators at gmail.com. There is no the. You don't need a THE. Just unofficialcommentators at gmail.com. And we'll consider talking about whatever it is you guys want us to mention. So, I will see all of you guys on the flip side. We're going to soon be talking about UFC 208, so stay tuned. This has been the Unofficial Commentators about all these different topics that we talked about today. Follow our links, do all that fun stuff, and we'll see you next week.